and we really miss you on Friday because this is your state. It's something you're very concerned about. And as a woman leader,
woman leader like she's in church.
To get your opinion on it. Is the government taking it too far? Like wanting to legislate on people's...
Absolutely. It would seem like there's a misplacement of priorities. There are other pressing matters that can be focused on. Let's talk about female representation of women in politics. You know, let's look at ensuring that even the 35% affirmative action they've been shouting about, that Delta State is representative in that area. There are many areas to be...
schools.
You know, work on the quality of healthcare, education, civil servants and their salaries.
And I don't even
There's so much to be done.
Civil servants abuse their appearance. A civil servant is
somebody that doesn't have plenty money.
Exactly.
First of all, he's managing his money. Think it's colored hair or eyelash. That is a civil servant's person.
Then for the men, bushy men. So
bushy.
I can never work in Delta State.
You know, being a guy like this now will be in trouble.
You know what? All this is just initial gra-gra. There's a new generation of politicians that are coming. The Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas will come and take over, and all these things that they're doing, they will overturn it. All of this is just drama for now. Because that's why the older generation still want to hold on to, to power. It's just, this is going to be the byproduct. And we don't see younger people in office.
Like the governors are trying to outdo themselves and who can stifle personal freedoms.
Niger versus
Niger
is doing very
I'm talking of Niger State. Have you guys heard the latest?
You need to get permission to preach, and you submit what you need to.
But sometimes the Holy Spirit doesn't reveal
my brother
to you until maybe 24 hours before.
Let me state it clearly.
Service.
Niger State is now saying that before you preach, he said the governor from the governor's office said they didn't ban evangelism. But for everyone going to sermon on Friday, I think this is talking to the Muslims as well. He should bring his scriptures for review, and it's normal. Even in Saudi Arabia, this is done.
This is not Saudi Arabia. Nigeria is a secular state.
They always like to compare.
We cannot say, no, Saudi Arabia. Why do we always pick something and we don't pick the other thing?
The cost of the human development indices of Saudi Arabia.
I was on a flight I was on a flight from Qatar to Nigeria, and the person sitting beside me was a doctor, a Nigerian doctor who's working in Saudi Arabia. His family is in Nigeria, and he said to me that if he had his way, he would rather not work in Saudi Arabia. He would rather be home with his family. But if I know how much he's earning, that there's no way on God's green earth that he will come back and stay in Nigeria. That he earns better. So if you're going to copy customs and traditions, you should ensure that you're giving people the same quality of life. Don't copy one and leave all. That's pretend.
He said we cannot say because you have been given the opportunity to be a cleric, you go out and preach the gospel that is anti-people, anti-government, and think it's normal. He says, let me asked if it was out of fear of indoctrination, the governor said it's in that direction.
So the thing is, you try to stifle media because you say the media is
what happened to that radio station?
You know, I've forgotten the name of the radio station now.
I think they've settled things out of
yes, they have.
Alternative disputes.
You try to stifle media. This same Governor Omar Bago is the same one that made that careless comment about people in dreadlocks. That one, after it got social media criticism, he backtracked on that statement. Then there was the issue with the radio FM that he shut down, saying that they're inciting the public. Like it's within his power to shut down a radio station when there is the NBC for a reason. Now, what exactly?
I don't think this man, when he was sworn in, I don't think he understands the Constitution of Nigeria or how things work in the democratic setting.
I mean, it would have led
because he feels that just verbal pronouncements he's not emperor. The pronouncements doesn't make it automatically law. You have a state house of assembly. If you've not passed legislation on something, you can't just become
and what
normal.
is the State House of Assembly in Niger State doing? Do they even have one?
That's a very valid question. And whatever laws that you're making, you must also take into consideration what the laws of the Constitution are. What does the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria say? Any law that is in contravention of the Constitution should not be able to stand. It is the Constitution supersedes. It's the ground norm. I think they call it the first set of legal.
God bless you. It's good to have a legal luminary back. He has to do things under the armpit of the law.
He was to tell you that on Friday. Under the armpit, he didn't come.
Please, what is the armpit? Okay, I'm not the ambit of the law.
He knows. He just been
He said that for you.
But just to mention that the Constitution provides for freedom of association. Any person should be free to associate with whatever organization, so long as it's not illegal in any way, shape, or form. So you can decide to be Christian, Muslim, traditional worshipper, you know, whatever it is, regardless. So at the end of the day, these governors need to understand that whatever they're doing should not be outside the Constitution. The Constitution.
Have you also noticed that we've
final
had,
say?
Yes, we've had Governor of Niger State feature on Wake Up so often, too often. And I wonder why. Anyway, they go on to make, it goes on to make this statement that we're working together with security agencies, the Department of State Services, DSS, the police, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the military.
Military, no.
Yes, the development which first became public earlier in the month has generated controversy. The Director General of the Niger State Religious Affairs, Umar Farouk, had said anyone interested in preaching in Niger must obtain a license, emphasizing that preachers had 2 months to obtain their licenses. It is true, the state government has banned preaching. Any preacher who wants to preach must secure a license between now and the next 2 months. 2 months would be October, it will end in November. So, let me say this. If I'm to preach on Sunday, I would have to gather my materials, send it to the government. They will go through my preaching. What message are you preaching about God? Okay, God, this is okay. This place where you talked about God controls government. We don't like it, remove it.
Yeah, because that's the whole essence.
If you look at...
They want to streamline
So the
preaching.
police does not have...
They don't want anti-government and anti-people sermons.
So the police does not have work.
I mean...
When they have a lot cut out for them to handle,
it's just...
They will leave it.
In the countries where this happened, these countries are not democratic countries. Look at them. I'm seeing here Tajikistan, China, you know, certain places, Russia. If certain regulations are done in a number of these countries, even in the UAE,
it doesn't mean you can
you would see that those people are not running a democracy.
Yes.
You cannot be claiming to running a democracy.
It's a monarchy.
And we are operating like it's a monarchy or one communist state, or you know, like it's autocracy.
And that's the most important part of this conversation. So he needs to understand that this is a democracy. You can't just wake up and say because it's done in a non-democratic state.
But you know why this kind of thing happens? It's because we often do a copy and paste approach here to governance. We see something happening in another country. We've not weighed the indices of why this is applicable in this country. I would just feel like I'm copying this and I'm pasting in Nigeria. If we're copying, we must start to copy other things like good health care.
And
then we must copy ensuring that
exactly.
we have...
Saudi Arabia, they have good health care.
Yeah, of course.
Governor
medical tourism.
Going forward, anybody any doctor that is not treating people after he's paid 1.5 million naira per month, you know. And then again, maybe it's a case of, it's not just running a monarchical, let me find the English word, system.
We're in a democratic state, and the governor just has very... I'm sure he really wanted to join the military when he was younger, because he has so many military tendencies.
He needs to
and
go to
the irony is, even when the military was here, they didn't go as far as asking people to submit their summons.
I can't wait.
Way beforehand. It's ridiculous.
Even the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will not do this thing that he's doing.
Meanwhile, when he was with the president, he was being meek. Like me.
You know what? This is what we'll do for our producers. Let's follow this story headlong, please. After 2 months, I can't wait for November to find out.
To see how it will turn out.
Yes, how people are
going to reverse it as always and say when people misconstrued him and are taking it out of context.
So does that mean that the military will start going to all mosques and churches?
He can't even. He doesn't have the democratic right to order the military.
In a country that we're sort of fragile along certain lines when it comes to religious and ethnic divides, we're quite fragile in that area. What statements like this, and leaders, politicians, governors, and lawmakers must realize that when you make statements like this, what you're doing is you are doing the very thing you're fighting against. You're fighting against people preaching divisive sermons. What you're doing is you're making those lines thinner, those lines that we're standing on, those religious and ethnic lines that were divided already along. You're making it thinner. And Nigeria is a secular state. Nigeria is not a Christian country. Nigeria is not a Muslim country. It's a secular state. Everybody should be free to practice their religion. And so long as the religion is within the certain confines, it's not breaking any laws, they're not being illegal, I think that should be reviewed. And the international community, I'm sure, will jump in on this soon.
Let the national community mind your business.
Let's solve our problems.
Let's solve our problems ourselves. And also, adherents of African traditional religion, how do they submit their sermon?
I don't know.
But how they going to
the cowries,
they should shake it.
Governor, this is what we want to submit to. Today, we want to pray that the spirit of this, so we'll say, okay, what spirit? Is it good?
Then we going to send class reps.
Enforcement.
We will send class reps to every church and mosque.
Come on. I mean, I don't know if we have reactions though, but I'm sure Nigerians are not eating this because, I mean, that's a new word on social media. Eat it, like Gen Z language. Anyway, let's see what they say. What Nigerians are saying to the, concerning this story. Abubakar Sadiq says, I support this. There's too much preaching nowadays, both in mosques and churches, that only serves to create division. This trend needs to be properly checked and regulated. Religious scholars, both malams and pastors, are also contributing to the disunity in the country. Nelson Collins says, Governor Bago's declaration that preachers must submit sermons for approval is not governance. It's the policing of conscience. A government that cannot regulate poverty.
Exactly.
Insecurity.
Cannot regulate poverty, insecurity, or unemployment suddenly finds the courage to regulate the pulpit. Sophistication in leadership is measured by solving real problems, not by shrinking freedom of expression under the guise of order.
And Ifeanyi Onoha says, the same people who can fix electricity want to edit the word of God. It says edit the word of God. Maybe start submitting your government budgets for approval first. Let's see if it passes. Says Ifeanyi Onoha.
Shots fired.
Fabian says, requiring preachers to submit sermons for approval is a dangerous path. Freedom of religion and expression shouldn't be filtered through politics. Today it's sermons, tomorrow is going to be every voice we don't agree with. And that's how it starts, you know. Start by eating
that's how it starts.
Little rights and liberties. But from what I can deduce, in conclusion, someone mentioned that there are preachers and imams that are making divisive statements and make divisive comments on the pulpit or wherever they're preaching. It's fine. That's why you have PFM, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, CAN. You have the umbrella body for Muslims too. You appeal to them to self-regulate. You talk to the council that regulates them to, you identify a few members. You don't throw away the baby and the bathwater.
That's it.
And also on the issue of freedoms, once they start regulating preaching, they will come for your personal freedoms one day. And we've already seen that. I mean, why wouldn't you have the right to fix nails if you want to, and do other things?
And I like what one of the
little by little.
One of the tweets said, maybe we should start regulating budgets too.
Submit your budget to God, let the Lord review.
No, submit it to the Nigerians. Let's see.
They submit it to our representatives in the state houses of assembly, but we know what happens.
Anyway. Let's move on from that story, and you can let us know your thoughts. We're streaming live on YouTube via News Central TV. Tobi Amusan has called out the Athletics Federation of Nigeria for poor kids in a video that has been widely circulated. She's talked about how, in comparison to what their counterparts have been given, they're giving the kids in transparent bags. AFN has also kicked back on this. They've pushed back. They denied any wrongdoing, saying that athletes received Adidas kits worth over 400,000 naira. And they argued that Amusan's case was different, that she flew business class as opposed to other athletes, that she demanded, based on a request, that she wanted to fly business class, and that they gave her that. So let's take a listen. Take a look at this video.
These are other countries.
This is USA.
All the other countries showing their kits.
Wow. In USA, bags, suitcase. Nice.
So Nigeria, all the other countries, they give their athletes suitcases. See what Nigeria pack kits put for athletes. Every year, that's how they collect her. Inside one small lino bag. A country, which company be this? Iresa. This country will steady embarrass you. Now, can't say many people not switch allegiance. Now, never ready. I beg you. Nigeria give us one. Rosie is a laugh. I'll put you for video now. 2. Men are the count more. 2 like that. One, qui lele, j'ai boxer si lele abi. Even blind man no say this thing. It go be like nika for my body. They give us 2. Everything 2 on a sale. Oh yeah. Competition there. When we say if you sweat like this, the color of it, if it pee for your body, I beg, down the water. Wait, they went to bash one. All of our, I don't know what time you. To bash 2. To bash 3. And extra butter. Edge of the wrong. And in their words, podium way, up and down. I beg you, long tight either. Wear long tight, wear 3/4 tight, wear long sleeve. No singlet, no nothing. We never get clothes we go wear for dining. This thing they give us now is strictly competition gear.
Okay, there's more to it. So let's take the reaction from the Athletics Federation of Nigeria and hear what they have to say about Tobi's video.
Of course, Athletics Federation of Nigeria, did not find this funny. There was a lot that they had said. Someone had spoken on their behalf, and they denied any wrongdoing. I'm just going to, extract a few things. I believe we have an interview.
Yeah, sure.
But let's take a look at the interview first, and then when we come back, we'll give you. Okay. Anyway, they denied any wrongdoing. They said that that all the athletes received Adidas kits worth over 400,000 naira. Argued that Amusan's case was
Adidas. But that's high racer.
That's high racer.
No, but the high racer also so they also argued that Amusan's case was an isolated delay and highlighted that she was flown business class to show respect. They also talked. I mean, there's a number of things.
Let me go through it.
Yes.
The Athletic Federation of Nigeria countered Tobi Amusan's allegations about substandard kits, asserting that all athletes received complete equipment from sponsor high racer with additional benefits including podium bonuses and preferential travel arrangements rooted in the storm. Now, key points are AFM President Tinubu, of course, who is related to the former governor. Okay.
Anyway,
stated that athletes received full high racer kits, including spiked shoes. Federation
for free.
The Federation claimed Amusan was shown only a partial kit allocation in her social media post. High racer confirmed identical kit distribution across all 20 sponsored countries. Okowa revealed Amusan received business class travel while other athletes flew economy. She deserves it, please. Please, and they all deserve first class, if possible. The sponsor offers substantial podium bonuses, $30,000 gold, 20,000 silver, 10,000 bronze. The dispute emerges amid ongoing athlete welfare concerns in Nigerian sports, and the conflict could impact team morale during the ongoing World Championships. The confrontation highlights persistent tensions between Nigeria's athletic excellence and administrative controversies on the global stage. And that's pretty much what they said. So there are two aspects to this particular story. One, if you've been an avid follower of Nigeria's Nigerian Athletic Federation, in short, Nigeria's Sporting Federation, you will find out that each sporting code, usually every year when we have a tourney, they always have one problem or the other. Now, there were rumors that came that you had some members of the Athletic Federation take more personnel,
more delegates than athletes
to travel.
More officials than athletes. Imagine.
This is not the first time we're hearing that. Secondly, athletes have always cried foul when it comes to ensuring that they prepare ahead of time. Welfare bonuses, preparation and the likes. It's always it's always dicey. And when athletes speak up, they are being attacked or they're being, cancelled, as it were. Just recently, Favour Ofili, an Olympic athlete, medalist, and so on, switched allegiance to Turkey. And in that video, you saw Tobi Amusan, who is like our most revered gold, our child, our daughter, who has been doing us proud from the likes
and
of the
besides,
days of...
she made it to the semi-finals,
Yes.
and she won a heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because the likes of Miriam from way back were talking, you know, softly, they were saying, listen, treat us well. I wonder what is inside this AFN.
So it's
that has
sports
continued
administration in general.
from
and
time
I don't think
immemorial.
this is a defense, because she said this is not the first time. That
It's not.
It's not the first time.
It's not.
It's not the first
Blessing
time.
Okabara recently, I think that was some days ago, weeks ago, said that there are dissenting voices. There are times where the athletes want to speak. They are being attacked by the same sport, different sporting codes. If every athlete, be it a footballer as well, when it comes to football, all speak up on the same malfunction,
it means there's
there's a
problem.
complete problem. And guess what? Don't be shocked. Just last year, the same AFN received over 300 million from a bank. They also received a sponsor from the same high racer. They also received, and some of these
And
sponsors
looking
are
at
not
the
open.
2025 budget, the appropriation part for athletes and that takes care of translates to about 50 to 2.2 million dollars, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
yes.
it. It's there.
The detail is there for the Ministry of Sports.
Millions.
Yeah. So
Where-
why are they getting this? And like you rightly said, it's not just the budgeted amounts. There are monies that come from sponsors.
So again, I mean, there's just the reactions to this. Before we take reactions, I'd like to mention that the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, their response, the question is, many would argue if the response was factual, if truly, you know, it was factual based off what they were saying, you know, in comparison to what Tobi Amusan was saying. But again, it's a thing of public perception. And because there has been repeated incidents in the past, public opinion would definitely be swayed in Tobi Amusan's favor. People will believe her over the AFN. And a number of the things that were said, they sounded indicting when she comes out to say, oh, when they come out to say she requested business class and they flew her business class.
I mean, that's very petty.
Yeah, so
That's issue.
I don't
You're not
know.
even addressing the issue. And you're not addressing the issue.
The response feels very reactive, right? It feels very reactive. It should be a time for them to reflect. They're saying that the only thing that was not given is a bag. And it's not just a bag.
And they said the other
Packaging
part of the
matters.
kits are coming the next day, that she only received one.
Packaging really matters, right?
I don't understand.
If you say, oh, we apologize.
Look at.
There's a difference
Look
now.
at.
Look at that.
I mean, even secondary school children,
In
young kids looking
2025,
at this,
We
will be
want to aspire
inspired
to be
that,
in
wow,
sport.
look at all
So
this
say,
things
okay,
they're getting.
you know, we understand your frustration. We promise we're working
Yes,
to do better.
everything must not
So
be-
far, you have gotten one batch,
so
but there's
defensive.
another batch on the way. As opposed to making it look like
And
it's
do a
defense,
video.
you know?
Exactly.
Come to address the
okay,
same-
show us the proper kits.
Exactly.
I think that-
Standard kit, how you give everything that a Nigerian athlete.
I think that a number of
deserves.
these Nigerian agencies need public
Communication
relations
specialists,
communication specialists to teach them how to handle crisis, so that when they're brought in the
The
news.
same thing that happened to Brown Day in Ayimba. He said he hasn't been paid. The next thing they said is, when all your other teammates are taking buses, we fly you through an airline.
The fact that you
And
fly
then
me through an
they
airline
also-
doesn't mean that you
They
should
also
not pay my
said,
salary.
how many goals do you even score this season?
Imagine that.
You see, there's a problem, eh? There's a rust, a deep, dirty, stench, strong rust inside the Nigerian Sporting Federation. And since, I mean,
She has still
when
been unboxing
I
since I started this
when I started my career in journalism, I
Is
know I
it that
started
they
as a
want her to
sports-
start a boutique?
I don't understand
See,
because
listen.
the unboxing is a lot. Wow.
Recently, the AFN also lost over $2.5 million deal with Puma. That deal was lost.
Why?
When I started my career in journalism, I can also remember that at a certain point, I started as a sports journalist. Every year, there were cases of missing monies, funds, and all that. They would always go into the hiding. And then you wonder, you ask yourself, what's really going on? Is it a space for people to come and eat? And it's starting to look very, very
Can we say that this thing is very demoralizing? I was watching that video that we played of the American lady unboxing, and even as somebody who just recently started going to the gym, I know that how you show up affects your mood. If you have a nice gym where sometimes it motivates you to want to work
Absolutely.
out, even when you are going on air as a TV host, You like how you look, you like your makeup.
You guys are looking.
It affects your delivery in a positive way.
Absolutely.
So all of this is also about morale.
Even the perfume.
You know, exactly. It's all about morale. And I think that the morale is low and that AFN needs to do better. But let's take a look at
AFN's responses.
Let me start clapping for Nigerian athletes that always brace the odds and win medals.
Yeah.
They deserve to be applauded because the average Nigerian is faced with internal crises and systems that are mitigating against him or her.
Like,
beyond all of this, Tobi Amusan has gone ahead to win the 100-meter hurdles in the 600-meter hurdles in Tokyo. And she's our golden girl, so we celebrate you, Tobi Amusan. Thank you for making Nigeria proud and putting us constantly on the global sporting map.
We also celebrate the young Nigerian athletes, the first in 18 years to make it to the finals of the World Athletic Championships currently going on in Japan. So kudos to our Nigerian athletes for showing up and making us proud, despite the federation and little support they get.
Okay, let's hear what Nigerians are saying about the Tobi Amusan versus, because it has become Tobi Amusan versus EFN, unfortunately, situation, the whole saga on X. Absolutely. Now, what Nigerians are saying, Akintunde Babatunde says, on Tobi Amusan and the AFN, I ran the numbers. 2025 Sports Ministry allocation, 94.95 billion naira. National Sports Federation athletes, 3.65 billion naira. A pool of money, can we please put back the tweet? A pool of money meant for camps, logistics, allowances, and yes, kits. If what we got is the shameful kit Amusan showed, who should answer our questions?
Nothing will happen.
Exactly.
Nothing. Ashwaji
Larry says, you cannot claim Tobi Amusan lied while showing us a video of the kit she got and expect us to believe you without dropping video evidence of the full part. Nigerian government will do anything but show evidence or take accountability. Again, we are doing better, sorry. Okpayemi Babalola says, Tobi Amusan can talk boldly about the nonsense they handed over to her as a kit because she's already a world record holder. They need her more, exactly. Do you know how many years this nonsense has been going on? If you want to know more about the fraud in the Athletics Federation, go and interview the athletes who usually represent Nigeria at the Paralympic tournament. Their own is worse. I shudder to imagine. Buchilaba says, for me, Tobi Amusan is not dragging those in charge of athletics in Nigeria enough. The sporting section in Nigeria is a joke, big joke. Funds get released and those in charge do whatever they want with it. Because at the end of the day, nobody will hold them responsible. Because people that will hold them accountable also get share. That's why I will always keep celebrating athletes like Ofili that switched allegiance. We are not serious at all.
We are not.
You know, somebody put up a tweet in defense of the government and said, okay, let's take this first from Jolad. Why is the AFN talking about this? The pack showed she had faulty kits. The AFN focusing on Tobi Amusan and ignoring the fact that officials were listed in place of qualified athletes and we now have no participants in the relay. Is saying a lot. That's another issue we need to.
I'm happy that we have Sunday Diary coming through.
Oh yes, he used to be a former sports minister, so he would.
I'm sure he's going to prepare himself to answer some of these questions. But
let's talk about. Look, I saw a tweet that's in support of the government. It says, you should be very proud of putting on Nigerian colours. That the country is doing you a favour by giving you a platform to represent them. So. Don't always ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That you should be proud.
When they said don't always ask what your country can do for you, that you should ask what you can. The country will have first done something for you. So it should not be like, your country's always doing for you all the time. Don't always ask what your country can do for you to what can you do for the country.
Yeah, you've even gone too far. In 2000,
the country has given a high risk.
I think in 2005 or 2006, this same issue came up while on radio, and somebody came on. I think he came on set. I can't remember the name of the person. He said, "Don't ask what your country athletes should be." And the question he was asked was, "Okay, that's fine. Would you be able to work for a company for free when we have money? We'll pay you. Don't ask what the company can do for you. Just
be proud of when the country's
after all, we've given you
ID card."
And he said, "That's different." No, it's not different. It's not different.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I mean, let's ask you as well what you think about this. You can go on X and share your thoughts, tweet at us individually, or you can drop a comment in the YouTube live. We're streaming, of course, on YouTube at News Central TV. Let us know your thoughts regarding Tobi Amusan versus the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. But once again, as we round up with breakup conversations, we say big congratulations to Tobi Amusan once again for always.
To all the
making us
athletes.
proud. You deserve it.
To all the athletes.
And to all the athletes who
Despite the
constantly
odds.
weather the storm in the most
Despite the odds.
the most uncomfortable positions with inadequate kids who do not get sufficient remuneration, yet they show up and they put Nigeria on the map. Thank you, and well done.
Look at that budget, guys. Look at that budget.
It's huge.
Huge budget.
But in defense, you could say budget is what they would like as the money being released. That's another question.
Anyway, as we wrap up with the
that would be
conversation,
asked, yeah.
one man was celebrating his end, the end of his would I call it? Should we call it tenure? Can't call
Well,
it tenure
his
now.
tenure as a sole
yes.
administrator, and there was a
because of the
Thanksgiving
celebration,
service.
there was some-
because-
there was
Is it
some
related
movement.
to the rice that was distributed in Lagos over the weekend?
that rice.
Did you eat part
That's
of that
true.
rice?
No, I did not. But I also want to use the opportunity to applaud Hilda Bassi
Yes.
again. Hilda Bassi has gone yet again. Yes, there hasn't been an official confirmation, but we do know that she has cooked the largest pot of jollof rice. And we're hoping that Guinness World Records can accredit that soon. But congratulations to her. She did it not just once. She did it twice.
Amazing
And,
woman.
You know, I like the fact that whatever she sets her heart to do, she goes after it. It will be tough, but she does it regardless. So kudos to Hilda. And we hope that she
I
inspires a
saw a
generation
comment.
of young women to dream and do more.
One young man, always trying to throw rocks into people's work.
Or the one that went to go and eat the rice.
No. He says, can't we, why are Nigerians always celebrating things like this? Can't we do any advancement in education, technology? This is her field. This is what she knows how to do, and she's doing it.
Those in tech are also trying.
those in
They're
tech
doing
are trying, exactly.
should
Someone
do
now
well.
commented and said, I went to your page, I didn't say anything educational, anything technological or inspiration. So don't just sit down and pick at people's works.
Anyway,
Right.
let's
Yes, what
do
are you looking for?
this is the sole administrator move. I don't know if you heard of it. Yeah.
Please, let's show what's happening today on Breakfast Central. Do I don't get power?
No, I'm glad. Did I call anybody?
Yes, this morning on Breakfast Central, we will be looking at the state of the nation, analysing women's role in politics, case of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. We'll also look at River State holding a Thanksgiving as emergency rule nears end. And we'll also be reviewing what the River State sole administrator said, that Rivers can afford a crisis. And of course, we look forward to the newspaper headlines where you can join in and contribute. Join us in Breakfast Central.
The conversations this morning begin in Rivers State, Nigeria, where a political storm may be coming, but the clouds haven't fully cleared. Now, after 6 months of emergency rule, Rivers State is transitioning back to democratic governance. Sole Administrator Vice Admiral Ibok-Ete Ekwe Ibas has made a passionate appeal for reconciliation, urging political actors to shape their swords and prioritize peace over partisanship.
Now, speaking at the interdominational service held in Port Harcourt as part of transitional activities, Ibas appealed to political stakeholders to put the state's interest above personal or partisan considerations. The seeds of reconciliation have been planted, but they need your deliberate nurture to take root, he says. River states cannot afford another season of division and acrimony.
But as the state reopens its democratic doors, questions linger. Has the mandate truly been fulfilled? And can Rivers avoid slipping back into crisis? The celebration was indeed held over the weekend. And let's take a look at it before we go into the conversation.
The prosperity of River State must be placed above personal and or partisan interest. I make a special appeal to our political actors sharing the sword. Politics must never be an excuse to destroy the very state we are called to serve. The progress and prosperity of River State must be placed above personal and partisan interest. River State cannot afford another season of division and agreement. We must forgive one another, reconcile
has come, it has ended in peace. And we have now begin with the much needed peace in the state. We are happy that we are restored to democratic government. There is no altercation and no quarrel between any of the parties or any of the political actors. So we hope the transition will be in a very quiet way.
When we have a democratic elected government officials, they think towards the development of the people at the grassroots. But when we have the sole administrator, he was thinking of consolidating on the peace that he was sent to do. So the difference is that while the democratic elected government will come, constituency project will kick up, which cease, and then the governor will look more into other areas that
transition activities right there. Well, joining us for this discussion is constitutional lawyer Evans Ofeli. Good morning. Good to have you join us again after a while.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us.
There you have it. It's been done. It's a done deal, as it were. It's time to hand back to the duly constituted, recognized and elected governor of Rivers State. Would you say that the consolidation on the peace deal was actually met?
Well, what I can say is that we have succeeded in confusing the younger generation as to what governance should be, because all this we are going to codify into government textbook, civics, and the rest of that. And we don't care that the younger generation, we are convoluting governance for them. And I pray that they are able to sift the shenanigans away from what truly governance is. Because it's been 6 months of illegality, which the country allowed to fester uncontrollably. And so now they have gone back to the church, invoking the sovereign, asking, praying to God and asking that this will lead to everybody sheathing their sword, and at the end of the day, they are going to have peace and the rest of that.
So you just hold your thoughts there. You said the word 6 months of illegality. So the entire emergency rule period was illegal.
Yes, it was an illegal.
And going to church is celebrating, giving thanksgiving for what is illegal.
Yes.
Maybe it's also asking for forgiveness. You don't see that.
I knew you were going down.
Well, it depends on whatever it is, but I think we like to take all our filth to God. I mean, for me, it has been a system of illegality, and
but
we should
constitutionally.
So that's what I wanted to ask.
We should be confessing our sins to God.
So who determines the legality or illegality of the past 6 months? Is it not the court of competent jurisdiction
And the
that will determine?
The Constitution determines that. The Constitution says when you have such situation, like you had in River State, there will be extraordinary means will be used to determine the issue. Okay. First, the situation hadn't broken down to the point where you even need to declare state of emergency. And when you did, you had to remove a democratically elected governor, which is wrong. Okay. It does not in any way conform to the Constitution. Okay. And now the president got away with it.
And I want to backtrack on that again. Saying that the president got away with it and that it's been 6 months of illegality, is the bulk of the blame at the feet of the president or the parties involved, or with the judiciary for failing to ensure that there's a judgment that declares this as an illegal act?
Yeah, this case is before the court. I mean, some PDP governors went to court on this regard, and the court have refused to even hear the matter, let alone make a pronouncement.
So is that not where the blame should be?
Oh, the blame is not. You can blame the court for not have determined the matter, but you have to blame the president for taking that route. That's a very wrong.
In the first place.
Yes, a very wrong way to go about issues like that, and that should not continue in any way, because we keep planting illegality everywhere. We are looking at a country that we all of a sudden become a worthwhile place. But it won't work like that until we're able to follow the rule of law. Okay, apply the rule of law as it should be applied before we can find any headway whatsoever in this country. And it's important that our leaders take note of this. You cannot be importing foreign and unknown procedures into lay down protocols and lay down laws of a country. You will not make any headway. And at least you wonder, you are all over the place looking for investors. They will not come. Yes, they will not come because you are not working. Just imagine you look at what happened to the NBA, for example. We had to take it away from that state to a different state, because we cannot operate under illegality. And maybe perhaps there were investors who also were coming to Port Harcourt when this happened. They will not come because they won't want to operate under a state that have no democracy.
Now, Barrister, let's track back a bit to how all of this started. During the Thanksgiving service, Vice Admiral Ibas did say he thanked Mr. President for his intervention, because things would have broken down to a state of lawlessness and chaos. Now, the intervention raises the old questions about federalism in Nigeria, that the federal government overreach into state affairs, effectively eroding the democratic authority of Governor Fubara. Or was the emergency rule a necessary evil to prevent a total breakdown of law and order?
Well, so many persons may see, because it's too early in the day, because we don't know what will happen after when he returns. Okay, but so many persons will say, if not for the state of emergency and the temporary suspension of the governor, we wouldn't have quelled the situation. But I don't think that we should apply wrong to quell wrong. Okay, there could have been other means laid down by law that ought to have been adopted. Okay, so the fact that they're in church now and they're talking about, okay, let everybody sheathe their sword and the rest of that, let the state progress, and does not mean there will be no conflict in future, especially when they have used this same sole administrator to conduct an illegal local government election that fixed some funny characters in some places in that state. That is my state. So, I mean, my mom is from River State, so I am part of the state. So, so I talk with some sense of authority as a citizen.
If you look carefully, you just mentioned the local government elections as well. I mean, we did see some of the winners.
Some of the councillors.
Some of the councillors, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
They're beautiful hats.
Wearing that beautiful hat on their head while they appeared to, of course, receive their certificate of many of them during the certificate of return process. But then again, we've seen the Ibas, in other words, ensure that peace and stability is indeed achieved in the state. But what do you think will happen? I want you to look at this carefully from the ambit of the law. Now that the governor is coming back, how is he going to ensure that he follows through with what has been put in place using the constitution that is right before him?
Yes, this practice actually have exposed a lot about our local government system. You know that Fubara conducted one. One of the, using APP.
Yes, APP, and APP won.
And won, I think, 22 seats.
Yes, 22 seats.
Yes. Then this one that was conducted by the sole administrator, the APC, won or maybe 20. They have
and left one only for
one
the
for
PDP.
You understand? So what it means is that local government election in Nigeria is about the governor or whoever is heading the state. It's not about the mandate of the people. The people, they are the last. In fact, the people are not even in the equation of democracy in Nigeria. They are not. They've long been flung out of the system. You understand? But the constitution says that sovereignty belongs to the people. That's the controversy. That's the contradiction. So this whole thing may collapse under its own contradiction. So when you talk about whether Fubara will be able to follow up and govern as he should under what has been placed before him. You understand? Today, I don't think the man cares about what the law have said or what the law have not said. because he's been pushed here and there and there. Now, I think he looks like someone who wants to be subservient, 100%.
So he's not returning as the same person as he was.
I don't
He's been
think so.
declared.
I don't think so. I don't think he's returning as the same person because, you see, now he wants to play safe. He wants a lot of conditions have been placed before him. The ones that are spoken and the ones that are unspoken, okay, before him. And I see him as someone who wants to just, play along, having been, shredded of all his powers, and as it were, as a governor. So what it means is that you cannot really, truly be your own man as a governor in the face of godfathers.
So from a lion, he's been made a baby cat, a pussycat.
So that is what it is.
I mean, seeing the Vice Admiral Ibas yesterday having the Thanksgiving service with his wife, looking very celebratory, many have said might have been a tad insensitive because of how the people of Rivers State felt about the emergency room. We did kind of public opinion.
It was imposed on them.
He felt it was imposed on them. So he felt like in some way you're robbing this thing that was imposed on them in their faces. Again, I want to still go back to the role that the court has to play, because we cannot absolve the court of responsibility in this matter.
Very well.
Right? If lawyers and different public opinion experts and analysts argue that what the president did was illegal, the only person or the only institution that has the power to determine the legality or illegality of this action by the president is the court.
Yes.
And the court has done nothing about
Yes.
it. So how do we then hold the courts to account?
That was why I faulted the court, because the opportunity to resolve this issue was presented before the court, so that the court will make a pronouncement, so that from now henceforth there will be because the first time this was presented before the court was during the time of Joshua Dare, for which it became an academic exercise. The court did not really make pronouncement on the substantive issue, okay? Because before everything had gone through, the period had elapsed and Joshua Dare had resumed, okay? Now, this time around, this matter was filed, I think, 1 month into the emergency rule, and for 5 months, the court did not make any attempt to have this matter adjudicated. The question is, who is the court afraid of? The judiciary is an arm of government, okay? Just like the executive, just like the legislature. So if the legislatures have been found in their field of assignment and the executive have been found in their field of assignment doing their duty, why has the court of law not? Because until you subject matters like this to judicial review, you will not have it resolved. Okay, so
the potential of there being a repeat.
Exactly, and that brings me to this question.
The
question of precedent, like you mentioned, Nigeria has a history of emergency rules. You mentioned Dari in Plateau. We also had in Ekiti and Adama. That
really like Jonathan's time as well.
Yes. So what president does, a reverse 6 months emergency set for the future? Could this normalize the suspension of democratic structures whenever political tensions flare, effectively weaponizing constitutional emergency provisions? And that's the reason why the PDP governor said, look, if we don't take this to the court and address this, it might lead to, the president might just wake up in a bad mood and see, I have an opposition governor who's been doing this and evoke a state of emergency. So where do we move on from here? And also, was it not part of the things that were discussed at the just concluded MBA conference?
Aha.
Yes. The truth is that the period for which the emergency rule was supposed to annul had elapsed, okay? But that does not stop the court from making a pronouncement, from determining the matter. The matter can still be determined even though the time, so that we can have a formidable precedent. Because if it is not determined, we will all need to call on the judiciary and hold them accountable, hold them responsible for not taking the necessary action. And
so
that
there's
will
still
be
time to
abdicating their responsibility. Yes, there's still time. There's still time. But I don't think they should relax because we're saying the matter is still before the court. It has not been withdrawn. Okay, it's still there. So it will be determined Okay, but I'm saying that why was it not determined during the pendency of the emergency? Okay, so that whichever way it goes, it's either the emergency is truncated by judgment, or it's allowed to annul.
It was politically convenient for them to.
Yeah, I don't know who is scared of telling the president, okay, that you don't have the powers under the law to declare state of emergency. You have the power under the law to declare state of emergency, but you don't have the power under the law to remove a sitting government.
Well, his Attorney General, that is meant to be his number one legal advisor, also supported this. So
yeah, he supported it. He supported it because he suffers from what I call partisan obscurantism. He failed to see through the law itself because of partisan operations. So an independent body, the court of law, we need to, look at it objectively, dispassionately, away from whether it's the president that acted or not. But whether whosoever, whether it was River State or not, look at it and look at the law. There is no way the court will look at it and look at the law and not come up with a judgment on the issue.
My final question would be, during his stay in 6 months, we've seen him approve budgets, even at the State House of Assembly, which of course I believe is part of the Constitution. We've also seen him appoint 8 board chairmen, be it from the hospital, governing council, and the likes. And we've seen him also appoint, people to head certain bodies as well. For instance, the River State Waste Management, where Samuel was also appointed, Wanusike as well, and many others. So all of these things is like the sole administrator has further revamped, let me use the word revamped, and has in other words, set the entire River State governance for Sim Fubara, who is the duly elected governor, His Excellency, to come back and just plug and play. Are we expecting that this would actually be smooth?
Was it really a reset? Because if you look at his inaugural speech, he talked about the fact that his coming in is to set the agenda for peace and to ensure that warring parties come together and all that. But throughout the dependency of his tenure, there was no time he stepped into the dispute. There was no time, it was just governance. That part was Wike and the presidency and whatever that undertook that part, which is contrary to what he read out in his speech. I still remember the speech. He was acting like he's going to resolve the dispute, call both parties together and resolve. That was how he was acting. And that was the kind of this thing he presented before the general public.
And maybe he was settling the domestic tension in River State.
Well, as you said, all those appointments, see, the truth is, his emergence first was illegal. So whatever he did thereafter.
Are those appointments illegal?
They are illegal.
Can't do wrong.
Was he voted into office? You derive legitimacy from your mandate. You understand? The people of the River State protested in some occasions against that rule. You understand? So there is no time it can become legitimacy, as long as it's not the people who donated their allegiance for that kind of governance.
The question is who will determine these appointments illegal? Who will be the one who will challenge?
Yeah.
Again, I will still go back to the court, because I feel like the court has a huge role to play in all of this. The presidency can act in a certain way, but there's checks and balances for a reason. But we've run out of time.
Thank you so much,
Barrister.
And I want to also thank you especially for adding a new word to my expanding vocabulary and lexicon. And may you not suffer from partisan obscurantism
in
your legal and journalistic profession.
I knew it. All right, let's move on to other conversation. The People's Democratic Party World Congress is held across Admiral State have been adjudged smooth, transparent, and successful, with most ward executives emerging through consensus as designated centers. News Central's Omar Kerawa reports that the chairman of the Monitoring Committee, Barrister Gibbon Katabs, who is also the secretary to the government of Adamawa State, revealed this shortly after leading his team across various wards in Adamawa to observe the exercise. Barrister Katabs commended PDP members for their peaceful conduct, describing the Adamawa Congresses as the best among the 12 states of the Federation where similar exercises were held. Party leaders expressed confidence that the spirit of consensus and cooperation at the grassroots level would further strengthen the party ahead of future elections.
The Constitution allows for elective offices where you have more than one candidate, and it allows for consensus. And so where there are elective offices, the delegates or the party supporters will vote for their candidates. Where there are congresses, they will do their formation. Women are impressive. I have gone to few polling units and I like the way women came out. And in fact, when the men were moving around, they were orderly. They lined up waiting for the elections to start. So I'm very impressed.
Give a quick recap of some of the stories we've had this hour on Breakfast Central. Ahead of Rivers Emergency Rule expiration, well, don't forget, it expires this Thursday, and Rivers State Soil Administrator urges for peace, sues for peace in that conversation we just had. Plus, at the Mar PDP Congress, as you just heard, one of the best ever to be held. Well, that's not all we're taking here on Breakfast Central. We still have 2 more hours to go. Coming up next, we'll be taking a look at State of the Nation, so do well to stick around. We have a special advisor to the President joining us, analyzing women's role in politics, a critical conversation we want to have. And we'll look at Kaduna flood update, a very sad one. We have updates for you.
Days of torrential downpour in Kaduna State have triggered severe flooding, displacing more than 470 children and destroying over 270 households across multiple communities. The National Emergency Management Agency says the flooding also led to a dangerous rise in the water level of River Kaduna, submerging homes in areas including Kabala, Doku, Bachana Road, Kigo Road, Ramat Road, Rafin Giza, Ungwandosa, Nasarawa, Mali Road, and surrounding communities in Kaduna Metropolis. NEMA confirmed that 2 women and an infant were rescued and are currently receiving humanitarian assistance while the search continues for missing children in Zaria.
Before you know anything, the landlord will increase rent and we are suffering. They came last 2 months. They came and shared 2,000 naira for some hungry peoples around that the water is entering their house, and meanwhile there was no water at that time. But this is the real water right now, and everybody, like thousands of people are not in their houses now. People, they don't even have food to eat, nowhere to go. Look at the primary school, the government school, nowhere to stay. And now, right now, as I'm talking to you, they are robbing some people there. Those guys that has canoe, they are still robbing people.
So like play, you go, you know go now. Around 1 o'clock, now in the thing constant. That one come out, he jam for this one. So this morning, Kuma, now so we see with our water, our kaya don't soak for water. Now here we sleep. We don't know where we go sleep again. See here, Kuma again, water don't cover up.
As I saw it, the water hasn't got to this extent. It was close to the entrance of our compound. But all of a sudden, in the midnight, we stayed. The thing was rising, gradually. So in the midnight, by 2 o'clock, the water now entered our house. It entered, and the water even destroyed a lot of things. Because it was midnight, and gradually things started rising to this stage now. As you can see now, the whole place is flooded, and the water is even increasing.
Very sad development there in Kaduna, and you wonder what the Kaduna State Emergency Management Authority is doing about the situation of the flooding. And from the reports we got, they've not stepped up to the plate. So, yeah.
It's sad, Benga. It's also sad with the fact that in that report or that video, we did hear one of the residents say that while they're struggling to pass through the water, they're still being robbed by people on the cano. So, in other words, it's a triple tragedy for them. They're struggling with having to leave their homes. They have to cope with swimming in the dirty water, and then they also have to be robbed by certain individuals. And then there was also a mention of a few persons being given 2,000 naira by agency. I wonder who it was. But then again,
yeah, and what's the 2,000 naira supposed to do?
Maybe it's just we don't know. Is it from the government? Is it to be used as a means of saying, you know what? Let's just use it to keep everybody calm for the meantime until everything is sorted out.
Maybe food for relief materials, but that's not.
Again, I hope that this also helps us realize that as humans, we need to value the quality of our lives, and our moral compass is really broken. Because how do you see a situation where people are already going through a terrible time, and the next thing, excuse me, I think about is how to take advantage of them and how to rob them. And when such people are found, they're not pardoned. They're made to face the full
100%.
weight of the law. It's just 100%. Really a sad situation. It highlights the level of poverty and the moral deprivation. Poverty because we see that happen a number of times where there's an accident, and rather than get help, what people are looking for is how to rush to the site of the petrol tanker to scoop some petrol for themselves. At the risk of the petrol tanker exploding and killing them, they will still put themselves in such ways. So it highlights poverty, moral deprivation, and our hearts go out to these people. We're going to break now. When we come back, we're having another conversation, and this time we're looking at women in politics, focusing particularly on the case of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, our next conversation is one that helps us dissect a pattern of exclusion, intimidation, and institutional resistance that continues to plague women in politics. At the center of this conversation is Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, whose suspension from the Nigerian Senate ignited a firestorm of debate across the country.
In March 2025, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended for 6 months over alleged misconduct, an action that effectively silenced the voice of Kogi Central for an entire legislative session. Despite a federal high court ruling that declared the suspension unconstitutional and excessive, the Senate refused to reinstate her, citing a pending appeal. This defiance of judicial authority has been condemned by legal experts, civil society groups, and even international observers, from allegations of misconduct to a suspension by the Senate. Senator Natasha's case reveals the deeply gendered fault lines in Nigerian politics.
But this isn't just about Natasha, it's about the broader landscape of gender politics in Nigeria and across Africa. It's also about the invisible barriers that become visible only when women dare to challenge power. Joining us for today's discussion are broadcast journalist Ireti Bakari Yusuf, who joins us via video conferencing. Good morning to you. And we also have a public affairs analyst, Mr. Theophilus Akatuba, who makes a return after last week's daring conversation, which of course is part of the reason why we decided to look into governance. That definitely affects women. All right.
And it's good that Olive is on set today, so we have a gender balance. Yes.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, Ireti Bakari. Let's quickly start off with you. I know you've, when this issue started in the Assembly.
We seem to have some technical issues with
okay. All right, we'll try and sort that out. But then again, welcome back. It's countdown. While we're counting down to the River State return of the governor, Sim Fubara, on Thursday, where the Solar Minister will be making his way out. There's so many countdowns. One of the major countdowns is the return of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And it seems like there is already a charade, as it were, and also stories surrounding the reason why she shouldn't come back because the law doesn't do this, the law doesn't do that. Many have taken it with very slim hands, if you put it that way, simply stating that that doesn't hold water. She ought to return back to a seat to represent her people. While some have now highlighted that it's a case of her just being a woman, because if she were a man, she wouldn't be going through all of this. And we do understand that you made comments on this last week, but what's your take again, to start off this conversation?
My comment last week, right, was on the premise that, in face of all the things we see, what we hear in the public space, every time political issues, are boiling, there are undercurrents, and you can actually, I suggested that they should find a political solution than a legal solution. And you all were in disagreement with me. And I said, for me, I see ego here. I see people, it's not about whether Natasha is a woman, because even if Natasha were to be a man, the man might use other means to resolve this. And I gave the example of Fubara, who had to leave all the legalistic environment and alone, without the crowd, found solution to the problem. Even though his tenure, the suspension is over and is returning smoothly. It did not happen on a legal ground. He went to do some political conversation. And I suggested that as an easy way out, so that this does not protract or prolong, because they are saying that there has been some pending appeal, because whenever you have an issue in Nigeria, I've seen cases that travel unnecessarily long because of appeals and all filing of all kinds of cases, and at the end of the day, it gets complicated.
Okay.
So I was suggesting that, not because she's a woman or a man, I believe everyone who is in the political environment should have an understanding.
All right, let's bring in Ireti Bakari into the conversation and ask your thoughts. You've heard Mr. Akatugba. He believes that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan should move beyond what the legalities or illegalities are and look for a political solution to her problems, just like Governor Siminalayi Fubara in Rivers State sought for a political situation to her problem. I'd like you to respond to that vis-a-vis whether you believe she's being targeted because she's female.
First and foremost, did Fubara really find a political solution? Come on, let's stop dressing up nonsense. Fubara didn't find this political solution. A political solution was imposed on him. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
So, no, I don't think Natasha should go that way. And what I'd like to hear your guest tell us is, I didn't hear his name otherwise, so please pardon me. What sort of political solution? Look here, it is clear. And here's the thing we do in Nigeria all the time, constantly dressing up nonsense as if it has some sort of sense. The nonsense of this whole debacle has no sense. In fact, the nonsense of the nonsense has totally lost its nonsense. So, Senator Natasha was, she was suspended illegally for 6 months. The law says you cannot suspend a senator for 14 days. That's the first thing we've got to deal with. So immediately on the offset, the Senate were totally wrong. In actual fact, I keep saying this, it is critical that we remember that the senators are the lawmakers of the land. Even more so, the Senate president is the third citizen. Well, if the third citizen is taking it upon himself to break the law, disregard the Constitution, disenfranchise a whole constituency rather, from having representation, then what exactly are we talking about? What political solution? Wasn't it politics that put Senator Akpabio in place in the first place? Wasn't it the same politics by way of democracy that actually put Senator Natasha in a position? So what political position or solution is he looking for? What, for her to change party, cross carpet, fly over to APC like everybody else is? No, that is not a solution. That's a cop-out. And she's clearly not going to do the cop-out, right? So everything that's happened to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, totally, absolutely illegal. That's number one. Number two is, now that the 6 months is over, yes, she went to court, and, you know, the judge, Justice Binta, did say it was wrong. She said it was illegal. I paraphrase her. She said it was against the Constitution. I paraphrase her, right? So what is the excuse? What I don't understand is, why are these people pulling at straws if it isn't that it's 100% personal? Because if it's not constitutional, then it's personal. If it's not democracy, then it's personal. What exactly do they want? And since when does the clerk have the right to stop a senator from resuming? So again, I'd like to ask your guest, what political position, because please don't use Fubara. Fubara did not find a political position. or political solution. Whatever situation he's in, and we all know what's going on in River State, that complete and utter debacle chaos was imposed on Fubara. And I'm not judging the man, I'm just saying that is not an example. And if your guest thinks it's an example, I'd like him to.
All right. I believe that she has said, or she was trying to say that, I mean, you heard what she was saying.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're back. Please go ahead, if you can land on your thoughts.
Before I can hardly hear you guys, it's rather unfortunate. This is quite an interesting and important discussion. No, I finished. I said, I don't know where you heard me up to, but what I did, where I ended was, if the guest in the studio believes that the Fubara way is the solution, then perhaps he knows something that we don't know. He might want to enlighten us. Because the Fubara way is what you call chaos, a chaotic, theatrical mess.
All right, Verity Bakari, I am your fan.
Bakari Yusuf, thank you.
I've been your, now very good to be with you here. You know what I am saying? When I use the word political solution, it might not go in the way of Fubara. I'm not even saying she should find political solution to her rape allegation. That one is purely a criminal accusation. If you look at the issue in the Senate, Akpabio himself did not have any big issue with Senator Natasha. He was a Senate leader, one of the senators that raised a point of order to bring the attention of the Senate to Natasha's position at the time. That day, live, I witnessed the altercation. And I thought that was what, that she should have quickly moved to her seat in order to speak. But she insisted until it got really bad. What is baffling me is that no one is saying anything about the infraction. People are just looking at the fact that she needs to return. But if she had served her term without any legal issue around the suspension, I'm sure on the day the 6 months expires, it's natural that she should return to the house. But they are citing cases. If she withdraws those cases that concerns her suspension, then it becomes the cost becomes clear that the Senate will not be acting sub judice, that there is a pending case, status quo should be maintained. So they have cited those cases. Can Natasha go and speak with them? Okay, any case that I have concerning my suspension, I'll take out because I've served my suspension. Then the issue of rape, that one, those cases are criminal cases that still continue to travel. And no one is asking her to find a political solution to a rape or harassment accusation. So for me...
But you didn't think, you felt, I mean, in our last conversation,
yes,
you mentioned something in the line of her rape accusation was after the fact, that she only mentioned it
yes, because she has... I saw her on TV after that altercation. I saw her on television making that allegation. After, not before. There was no rape, not on the floor of the house, not even before that incident. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but did that change? Does that really change anything?
No. I did not say her accusation is of any less weight. She has her fact. She is to produce evidence. I am not holding forth for the Senate president. I don't know what transpired between them. So many things happen behind the scene that we do not know. So that case should travel its full course because she believed she was harassed, and she also connected it that it has something to do with what's happening in the house. You can see how protracted it's becoming.
Okay, I would like also as well to speak about female participation in politics. I mean, some people would argue that traditional and religious organizations don't support women in leadership. I mean, you did allude to that in our last conversation. But you look at several other countries, Rwanda, Senegal, South Africa, they have...
Namibia.
Exactly, Namibia has a female president.
Namibia's president and vice president are
both female.
Yeah.
We see a number of these countries, between 43 to 61% of the members of their parliament are women. We see that women make up almost 50% of the population of voters. However, they have barely 5% in the elected office. So I want you to speak to that statement, because I do believe that you were not in support of women being in political leadership.
No, that's not you. I made a quote that is not political. It's a social quote.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with politics. Women should participate as much as possible. I'm in support of women participating in any sphere of societal progress and development. but I made a statement that led to a little argument, or we had to banter. And I said it, that if you want to corrupt a society, start with the women. That's what I said. I said that is my quote, and I can expatiate on that. So let me leave that.
No,
in terms of women participation in politics,
all right, let's talk about that.
Since the creation of the earth, there has been shackles in the way of women. And those chains, shackles, obstacles have, over the time, they are being removed one after the other. The same way different races have had challenges. So in Nigeria, we should look at where are we? Have we made progress? I see progress made sometime, other progress, because right now the current Senate has fewer women than the previous. It means we retrogressed. Why are we making, why are we moving back when we're supposed to move forward? Now, take a look at it. Nigerian politics is highly capital intensive. And you need to have a certain persona to spend the kind of money that Nigerian politics demands. And women do not seem to want to have that, do not have that kind of resources, or that kind of, she cannot mobilize that resources, because for you to mobilize resources, you have to enter all kinds of deals. Women are not very much interested in some of those deals.
Isn't the problem that the system blocks them intentionally?
No, it is our system. We live in a country. If you say Uganda and Ghana, the ratio of Islam in Ghana compared to Christianity, you can see that is not in comparison with Nigeria. Nigeria has deeply conservative society. Majority of Nigerian society is conservative, not in comparison with Uganda and other countries where you have a very plural one religion predominant. In Ghana, you have about 80% Christian, 20% Muslim. In Nigeria, it's almost Muslims, 55% Christian, 45%, if I get it exactly correct. That tells you that anytime you are making a policy in Nigeria, everyone will look at that policy from which lens, different lenses. The issue of gender equality was thrown out. Why? Because some people found it completely alien to their faith. And they had a majority voice on that day, and they threw it out. So you must understand your environment. Why is this so? In Nigeria, there is this general branding of politics as a dirty game. Even if you go to your home as a man and you tell your family you want to join politics, you see the outrage. You see what your people will tell you, that you want to join that dirty game. I don't have a conscience for the evil they perpetrate. Your own very people will discourage you. Some religious sect says that politics is evil and that we should not participate in it. And others, so you see the diverse opinion. How do you expect a husband who is married to a decent woman, the woman has all the qualities, but for the fact that she will be branded evil, and rumor, or people will carry rumor that she's having late night meetings with men, her integrity will be tainted. These are many issues that continue to block the chances of women.
You've raised very salient points. I'd like to bring in Bakari Yusuf into the conversation. Now, Theophilus did mention the political environment in which we operate in and the conservative nature of Nigeria, that it doesn't really serve women's interests. Now, as a journalist that has followed women breaking into male-dominated spaces for years, why do you think it seems the system is set up against women? And also, why are strong women in politics often famed as difficult or troublesome, or they should go and look for political solutions to their issues?
Well, first and foremost, if you, oh gosh, one day we'll get there in Nigeria. It's simple. Patriarchy, right? It is simple. Patriarchy has always favored men. Society that has always favored men and given men the entitlement, those who are entitled never want to share, let alone give up the power. So there's that threat, there's the fear. But that's number one. Number two is, it isn't that so if you look at our constitution, those who wrote it wrote he. I think she is mentioned like perhaps 10% to the number of times that he is mentioned. and I'm talking about the pronoun he, in our constitution. So that tells you something. That tells you that a constitution that was written by men, for men, with patriarchy as the sort of the judgment by which the whole society, the structure, the framework, everything is framed around that. It's also evident in what your guest is saying. He kept censuring, and I was listening, and I'm thinking, but why are you censuring everything around a man? So no man wants to be married, something is said about the wife, this, that, and whatever. That Senator Natasha should have gone to sit down. It's also infantilizing. Look, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to go to what you said, Theophilus, which is the initial issue at the Senate. Once a senator raises the point of order, order 10, that point of order can be raised anywhere. It doesn't have to be on their seat. It can be raised, is an SOS. And Senator Akpabio knew that. That's number one. Number two, it is rather disingenuous to actually claim Senator Akpabio didn't have a problem with Senator Natasha. Yes, Senator Adara Modu, who seemed to have become the mouthpiece, the spokesperson, the one that's out there for, for the Senate. Yes, he was the one that raised the order against. But Senator Akpabio, as the Senate president, is also knows the rules, and he knew at that time that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan could have actually raised SOS, Order 10, anywhere at all, not even on a seat. She could have raised it in the middle. Order 10 is an SOS. So no. The implication of what you were saying is that she was being disobedient. She wasn't. She was being assertive. Let's stop saying when a woman is assertive and she knows her rights that she's being disobedient. She didn't break any rule, nor did she break any law. All the laws and the rules that have been broken by men. And that is because with patriarchy comes entitlement. Right? And so the rules change. When it's a woman, the rules change. You said that if you were going to be going into politics as a man in your family, most people would say to you not to. Yeah. What if I say to you, I don't think you're being totally sincere here? It is me, if I was going into politics as a female, that everybody will ask, who is your boyfriend? Because automatically they will presume I had a boyfriend. They will totally forget that they're standing in front of the same woman. In fact, even the family, that, this is the woman, the girl that we educated, who became a smart, intelligent, focused, fearless, delivering woman who is, who can actually do things. That is what society forgets, right? So when we talk about women, Olive, thank you. I like the fact that you mentioned all the other countries, Liberia that had the first, where we had Ellen Sirleaf, and all the other countries that have female presidents. Why are they so different to Nigeria? Why? What is the problem? Are they not women, right? Why is it that Nigeria is signed onto the UN, I forgot the name now, and yet Nigeria has never, not once, fulfilled the obligation of being a signatory to that.
Right.
Why is it that women in politics has now become some sort of a red herring? I don't know, it's just become a talking point. It's become a talking shop.
Right. I believe you're referring to the, I believe you're referring to the national gender policy.
Not willing to give up the power. That's what it is. Once the men are willing to give up, and by the way, I am not asking to be given a special treatment. I'm not saying, no, create special seats for women. I don't subscribe to that. That's the other thing. Women are not homogenous. I'm not one of those that subscribe to that. I want you to make it an even playing field so you and I can meet evenly and may the best person win.
So is this I want us to flow from what you've said. On the 6th of April 2022, the Federal High Court in Abuja had mandated the federal government to also ensure that they uphold their own end of the agreement, the signing to the national gender policy saying that we allocate 35% of public appointments to women. Are you saying that you're not in support of that?
That's a appointive position.
I don't want you to
the public sector.
I mean, I'm not afraid to compete with you. I want what women have been asking for, and I'll tell you what it is. What women have been asking for is equal playing field. But because over time it's become apparent that the men are so afraid, they are so inherently selfish that they want to hold on to everything. Therefore, they're now saying, okay, you know what, perhaps if they create new seats, they won't feel so threatened about their seats. But should I tell you what's going to happen as a result of those new seats being created? The cost of governance is going to go up, and guess who they're going to point the finger at? The women. That's what's going to happen, because you are creating extra seats. So why isn't the law saying, why isn't the Supreme Court saying it becomes 100% illegal if you do not have gender representation if you have your political party, the board of your political party, the governing committee, all your committees, and gender representation in politics, in competition. All we want is gender representation. Right? If they were to do that, then women would know it's an equal playing field. The other thing is, if they were to do that, then you wouldn't be able, or it wouldn't be okay for you to arrange meetings, political meetings in the middle of the night, where you know most women won't come to. I've been asked to come to a political meeting before, and I got the call at 11 o'clock. I said, are you mad? Are you insane? I'm in bed. What could be so important that I have to leave my house at 11? Right? And that's it. Most women will feel exactly the same way as me. So what I'm saying is everything is stacked to prevent women from coming into politics. And even when they do get there, then they are infantilized, they are subjugated, or they are bullied into actually working for the men. So the ones who are not as brave as Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the ones who do not possess courage and have confidence, they then become patriarchal princesses, gatekeepers. Right? And this is what happens. So if we're going to be having this conversation, can we have an honest conversation? Because I'm sick and tired of flossing over something that literally needs to be thrown in the bin.
All right.
I'd like us to also look at the aspect of, Mr. Katuba, I'll come to you in a bit, I think, after this question. We do have the challenge of women, we do hear women supporting women. In Senator Natasha's case, it was expected that the women in the National Assembly will come forth and, of course, grant her support or give her support in terms of ensuring that, listen, let's rally round our very own. Exactly. But this wasn't the case. Rather, we saw another side where even a former, a member of the House was saying, listen, you did wrong, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done it the other way. So how do women take their movements seriously when it seems like within the same circle where you have women, there seems to be a discord, there seems to be a separation?
Natasha's case is evident that she's not being victimized because she's a woman. The women in the Senate, they are very close to the incident, and they were right there, and they understood what went on. The general activism in support of Natasha is just one of those political activism foiled by a charged political atmosphere.
So why didn't the Dino Melaye and Ovie Omoagege, who happened to do something even more abhorrent, if you look at it, why didn't the case drag on for
That's
this
what I'm saying. Even Akpabio had been so accused. He has also been found, and immediately he apologized right there and walked out of that position. He just said, I'm sorry, after the altercation. What I'm saying, there were times that Natasha should have just ended the conversation and moved. But she kept on interrupting. It was very, very, unpleasant. Even Adam Oshomole said he was at home seeing what was happening. What we must understand, let us not elevate this particular incident to any attack on women. Even when she went to the International Parliamentary, and the the response of the Senate, as much as possible, balance out everything. That the rules of the Senate, if you break them, you will be punished whether you are a male or a female. What those men do, that's why I tell you, there are political, these are, I've done something wrong, and you quickly say, oh, I'm sorry, my lord, or whatever your terms you use there. What I'm saying in the way we branded politics, generally, Ireti says, I was not exactly correct. This is a common balance in Nigeria. Even if you go to your religious organization, they tell you that, are you a politician, that you are dirty. I have friends that speak very negative of politics, and everywhere you go, they say, just stay with your business and leave the dirty game of politics. If you call something dirty, our decent women are generally moral compass. They are the foundation of the societal well-being.
I thought you said that women are the foundation of corruption.
I said that when you want to corrupt a society, you start with the women.
Please, I
will go there. I will go there. I'm not beginning to tell you the importance of women in society. Because you are the same people that said in the popular, beautiful quote that women quote when it's time to gain benefits. When you train one woman, what do? You train the person. When you train a man, you train an individual. Is that not? Now, when you want to corrupt a society, corrupt one man, you corrupt an individual. You corrupt one woman, you corrupt the society, because women are the moral arc of a society. They are the foundation of societal traditional resilience. The moment you target that woman, she will spread it to her children. She will spread it to society. And that, I can spend time to prove it to you, that even in social engineering, when colonial masters wanted to capture any society, what they do is to first capture the women. And then the cancer of they spread it. They spread it through education, they spread it through religion. So that was what they did. I will go there, but that's not what I'm discussing now.
I just want to reference that quote. It says, if you educate a man, you educate an individual.
Yes.
If you educate a woman, you educate a nation.
Do
you know who made that quote?
I don't know.
It's a man.
That's what I'm saying.
Dr. James Emmanuel Kwegya.
I thank you for that.
Educator.
Can you reverse it now, that if you therefore want to corrupt the society?
It was a man that quote.
Its opinion is not law. The fact that it says it doesn't mean it's the law.
What I'm saying is, if you want to educate society, who do you educate?
All right, let's take Ireti's reaction. Please, your reaction to this, please.
Stop.
They have taken the matter from where.
Stop.
Go ahead.
I'm like screaming here. First and foremost, what's the name of my brother to my left?
Okay, Joe? Jonathan.
Yes, yeah. Joe. Don't ever ask a man, when the question is about a woman, do not ask a man first. That question should have come to me first. Then he could have come in after that. That's part of the patriarchal mindset that we're talking about. It is engineering. It is societal engineering. That's number one. Because who is he to say why the women didn't support Natasha? Really, who is he? He's a man. They supported men. Right? Women supporting women has nothing to do with a man supporting women who doesn't support other women. So here's the first thing, that the women at the Senate who did not support Natasha, women are not homogeneous. You must always remember that. That's number one. Number two, every single one of them, if you listened, and I listened to them, every single one of them did not come from the point of view of legality. They came from the point of view of, she should have just let it go. She should have just apologized. She should have just, and it was also from that place of generational difference. Look here, if you do not accept right now that the next generation of women, yes, Natasha is younger than me, if you do not accept that the next generation of women are not, and I'm sure Olive can confirm this, are not going to tolerate the sort of nonsense that my generation tolerated, then you've got a big fight coming up. What you saw Senator Natasha do at that place, at the Senate, was that she knew her rights. Now, Theophilus, you also said you didn't hear her. She didn't mention about the sexual harassment until she got on TV later. That is very true. But a woman speaks out when she is ready, not when anybody tells her to, not when it's convenient, when she is ready. It was because, and that question was specifically asked of her. She was asked, what is always the problem? It was who said to her, what is always the problem with you and Senator Akpabio? And then that's when she spoke. It was clear that she didn't come there to say that. But I think at some point you just think, you know what, I'm just going to speak my truth, and then whatever happens. That's number 2. Number 3 is, Theophilus, you said Senator Akpabio apologized to Natasha when he made the giant...
No, I don't think it was Akpabio to Natasha he meant. I think it was when... I think he was referring to when he had the issue with Ahmed Lawan back in the day, the sitting arrangement issue.
The Ninth Senate, yeah.
Yes, he apologized in the House. I don't think it was to Natasha.
Well, yes, he had to apologize because he was facing Senator Saraki, who was a no-nonsense. Look, the fact of the matter is, the men at the Senate wanted to bully Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan into begging and apologizing. She was not ready to do that. She was ready to stand to her truth. Again, remember when Senator Akpabio actually spoke to her and said something about this is not a nightclub. He was widely condemned by Nigerians all over social media, and then he had to come and apologize. Why is it always her? What was his problem with her? Why did he constantly pick on that woman all the time, every time? He also picked on Senator Ireti Kingube, who eventually was kowtowed into silence. That's why she was coming out to defend them, because she's been browbeaten into weakness. Now, I'm not saying they all need to support Senator Natasha. If they don't agree with what she did, that's their business. Right? Women supporting women shouldn't be what's it called? A ruse that women are hung by. If Olive doesn't agree with what I do, it's within her rights to not to agree with what I'm doing. But that doesn't mean she doesn't support me. Because there's a difference. There's a difference with agreeing and support. I can condemn what another woman does if I don't agree with it, while still supporting her right to do or to take the actions that she took. So this is the kind of infantilization. Theophilus, you keep talking about decency. What exactly does that mean?
Yes, I'll tell you.
Here you are again, writing the script of how women should behave.
Yes, I'll tell you.
What if I don't think, no, but you must stop using that language.
No, I will use
when it comes to women. They constantly use it. On my show on last Friday, the same thing happened. They kept talking about decency with women. Who said, where is it written?
Okay.
That the word decency should only be applied to women. Women are not choreographed to behave a particular way.
Or homogeneous.
Trying to choreograph how women behave. Women are individuals, they're human beings, they respond the way their intelligence, their spirits, their passion moves them, just like men do. So stop this. And all that thing that you said, oh, if you educate, you keep placing all the responsibility on women. If you educate a woman, you educate the society and everything. What's wrong with you educating the society? Even when women educate the society, what do? You then tell us that the girls should stay back. It's a Monday morning, people. I should be calm.
All right, I like that. We educate men and women, but the impact of education of women is evident in our society today. There was a time where women were not given enough space in the educational environment. And since we started educating,
again, there's a lot of falsehoods that's put out.
No. There was a time. I'm saying that before now.
I am a Yoruba girl, right? I am Omokaro Jire, all right? And I know that within the Yoruba culture, and the same applied in Igbo culture, within the Yoruba culture, women have always had power.
Well,
those who are not educated in Oyinbo schools were educated in religious
I get
schools.
your, I understand.
So
I'm
can
saying,
we stop this. It was when the colonizers came, they were the ones that spoke to you men, you Nigerian men, and said you're giving the women too much power. Why? Because it was white women in Victorian times. They did not have power. They could not speak.
All right.
They were cattle.
All right.
So I like this.
Please tell the truth.
All right. So let's bring in Mr. Akpoti-Uduaghan.
Yes. What I want to say here is that I like the fact that you said we had a form of education. And that time, the education we had was able to build and give us a stable, better, and a purer society. Then the colonial masters came, like you said, and they gave us a form of education that changed everything. And we still continue to educate ourselves in the fashion and form of the same colonial masters. And today you have a lot of disparity from the society we once had. And you call it tolerance. You said what you tolerated. Are we educating women to be more confrontational? Because the outcome of such is that eventually you have high divorce rates, you have broken homes, you have more crime in society, you have more investment in combating crime. And then society gets more decadent. So there is no way you will drive the traffic. When we say women are decent, the women and men stand on different platforms in society. We have roles. The greatest nurturer, caregiver, and influencer of the future is the woman. She brings the children, she warmly influences them, and the value she presents to the children is what will go. Any man who has trained his children effectively has always done so through the wife. If the wife is in disagreement, there is a broken chain. It is always a struggle. Because children trust their mother. They love what the mother says. In every society, when women hold down a tradition and a practice, that practice endures. If women reject it, it does not endure. So women are the custodian of the moral fabric of a society. They are the custodian of the traditions of a society moving from generation to generation, because by their special positioning, they have the greatest influence on societies today and tomorrow. So how can the men are only strategic in their decisions.
So shouldn't men now step up to ensure that, what Ms. Bakari-Yusuf is trying to say, I would assume, is that too much expectation is placed on women.
That is exactly what it is.
Is that correct?
Yes. I have a quote from my Bible. I have a quote from the men have remained in their place. What you people have not understood, the people that have not changed are men. Men just let me finish. They have remained in their place. Let me explain this before. I have a quote in the Bible, in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. It says, a wise woman builds her house, and a foolish one tears it down. That is the responsibility of woman. It's not me, the creator, who gave me a Bible. In Quran, it said the fabric and the foundation of the future lieth at the heart and the feet of women because of their capacity to change society.
All right. So the decadent men and this corruption that you talk about, they should just sit back and continue.
Men are product of families. That's why I'm saying that.
So because they've been corrupted by
our society has been corrupted since we adopted Western education. Don't forget that. Let me explain. That's why Islam considered it at that time as haram. Let me explain. When the Westerners came with their education, listen to what Macaulay wrote to the Parliament of England on inspection of Africa. He said these people have a great system and form of education, and their religion and faith is so perfect that if we replace these two, they will indeed be a people truly conquered.
And that's what's happening.
And that's what they did.
Okay. We, of course, have to, we're getting to the end of this conversation. We have to wrap up. I will give you Ms. Ireti Bakari-Yusuf. Final thoughts. We have less than a minute to get out of this conversation.
Okay, I'm not one of those people. I can see the look on your face, Ali. I'm not one of those people that do religion. So please stop. You know,
It's
there's
my Bible,
so
not
many
yours.
tools. Permit me. There are so many tools that are weaponized. There might be, you know, the intention might be good, but every time, everywhere you turn, it's weaponized against women. So the Bible said this, the Quran said that. First and foremost, it's time we kept religion out of our politics. Like, that's a whole campaign we need to start ASAP. If we really want to become a rich nation, put it that way, a successful nation. But here's what I'm going to say. I've just heard Theophilus talk all these wonderful things about, you know, place this responsibility on women, the society will be this, educate women, the society will be that. Well, if you know that, why then don't you guys just step down? Leave the country to us and let us run it, and you become my assistant instead of women being forced to become secondary to men. Why not? Would you be willing to come and be my assistant, Theophilus? I bet you won't. And this is you see, I see through disingenuous rhetorics all the time. And I'm sorry, with respect, I've heard a lot of disingenuous rhetorics on this debate today. It's been a lot of responsibility placed on women without respect. So you're placing all this responsibility, you're drowning women. Women are supposed to educate society. They're supposed to carry the culture through. They're supposed to do this, they're supposed to do that. By the time we're finished doing that, the other gender, your gender, Theophilus, are busy running the country down and actually being more corrupt and stealing what should be going to our children. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. If Nigeria is serious about going forward, on a more serious note, if we are serious about having strong, good, impactful, successful governance at every level, then we should actually look to how we had it before the colonial days.
Right.
You had women.
Thank you, sir. We wish we could go on.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately,
we have to wrap up here because we have to go.
And we also have to give Theophilus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Yeah, I like that. That we should, if we could, I would want to go with the rated to that period. Now, I like the fight that women must be given more chance. We need to have a woman president. We need to have all that. Women must also believe that a woman should be, because majority of them have not also believed or come to the support of women in politics. Those in politics will tell you this. All I want to say finally is that men in politics that are corrupt are husbands to a wife, and they are a child to a woman. And so I believe that we are who we are because our mothers gave us training that we are. If
we don't take accountability and responsibility.
You can't account for nothing you didn't get.
Okay, we have to
so finally, before we go, I believe society, I am in support of women blowing out the politics, and the political environment, women are given, pay half the price of the form. Some parties give free forms to women. This is more of this should be done. I believe women can come up, but women should not shed or go away or take away from them that they don't have a role to shape a society. Well, they shape it, they form it, for they give birth to everyone in it.
And the final thing would be, at the end of the day, from all that you've said, men should also take more responsibility, because you've talked about men accountability, be married to women, be raised by women. Like, where are the fathers? What are the fathers doing? What are the men doing?
We have been shouting. Our voices are now drowned because you are now louder, because you have obtained the Western education, where the society we are preaching, we are looking for here, is full-blown in the West. Insanity. But the outcome is very, very messy.
Final thought would be, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Apply that how you may to how Nigeria's politics has been run. Thank you very much, gentleman and lady, for joining us this morning. We look forward to having you again. We'll now go on the break, and when we come back, we have breakfast headlines. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aboroa. We begin with weather forecast, where the federal government of Nigeria has issued a fresh flood alert, warning that 32 locations across 11 states are at risk of heavy rainfall and possible flooding between September 14th and 18th. Residents in flood-prone areas have been urged to evacuate immediately, while states and emergency agencies prepare to mobilize resources. Authorities warn that worsening rainfall patterns have already claimed over 231 lives across Nigeria this year, highlighting the urgent need for evacuation and flood preparedness in flood-prone areas. Meanwhile, the Ogun State government has issued an urgent warning to residents in flood-prone communities like Ibok-Ete, Warewa, and parts of Ogun waterside to relocate immediately to safer areas. This follows predictions of heavy rainfall, seawater rise, and potential overflows from rivers, including the Ogun River, which may worsen with water releases from the Onyon Dam. Commissioner for Environment Olaore Soya says the expected flooding could last up to 2 weeks, with peak rainfall predicted in September and October. The government has activated emergency camps and placed SEMA on high alert for swift evacuation if needed. Now to a rather sad one. At least 19 women and children died in northern Nigeria after a bus in a wedding convoy plunged into a river near the village of Fas in Zamfara State. The driver reportedly stopped on a partially collapsed bridge, but the bus then rolled back into the river, possibly due to failure to apply the handbrake. The bus was escorting a bride to her new husband's home and was heading towards Kebbi State. Residents confirmed the tragic toll. The incident underscores the frequent dangers in Nigeria's poorly maintained roads, which last year saw over 9,500 accidents, causing more than 5,400 deaths. Let's now move to education. The federal government says no teacher will be allowed in any classroom without proper licensing from the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. In a major policy shift, the Ministry of Education has redefined the roles of TRCN and the National Teachers Institute, insisting that only certified professionals will be allowed to teach. Education Minister Dr. Marufa Lausa says the new directive is part of efforts to improve quality and professionalism in the education sector. He warned that from 2027, schools without properly certified teachers will lose accreditation for major public exams like WAEC and NECO. An education researcher, Peter Ogundoro, joined us earlier. Here are his views from the story.
That's a tall order because it has taken us several decades to get to where we are. And where we are is a place where not up to 50% of people who stand in our classrooms are actually certified teachers. So we're wondering what magic we're going to do to get the rest of the teachers who don't have the licenses to acquire them within just 2 years. So that's certainly very unrealistic because the funding to make that happen is certainly not available. We also do not have the manpower to ensure that we're able to train and deploy the kind of teachers that should prepare children for the great future all of us desire them to be associated with. So I'm not very sure that the people who come up with this idea, especially in terms of the deadline, did consult teachers, school owners, and other stakeholders before they gave that kind of instruction. But I think that they mean well because in Senate climes, that's really what happens. You should be a licensed teacher to...
Now, outside Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo has launched a vaccination drive on Sunday against a fresh Ebola outbreak that has claimed 28 lives since late August. The campaign began in Bulape, Kasai province, with 400 vaccine doses given to frontline health workers and close contacts of confirmed cases. This marks the 16th Ebola outbreak in the country, caused by the deadly Zaire strain. Ebola spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids and causes severe bleeding and organ failure.
Fresh from that last hour conversation, we're still rolling with more to talk about here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the front pages. First paper we're going to is the Punch newspaper. Let's see what the Punch newspaper has in store for us. And it's big. Dangote deploys 1,000 trucks. Ipman rallies marketers. Seems like you have Ipman close to Dangote, but Nupeng and the likes far off. Crude earnings fall by 3.18 trillion naira amid output surge. What does this mean for Nigeria's fiscal or annual budget? Kanu seeks transfer from DSS to National Hospital. We do hear he's not feeling well at all. INEC, Catholic bishops clash over 2023 poll credibility. The church is coming into the polls now. Anyway, emergency rule, Ibas defends 6-month tenure as opposition demands probe. Will he be probed? That's another question the opposition party is asking. Wike Fubara actually shunned transition Thanksgiving service because they were not spotted there in the church. PDP, LP, Mossop, others call for accountability as Fubara returns on September 18th, which is this Thursday. States pledge quality education in schools resumed today amidst another very, I'd say, tough headlines that you find in the next paper concerning schools resumption. Lagos stops 6-story building construction after Punch report. Ogun urges residents to actually do something to relocate over flood threat. That's all the stories that we have on the front page of the Punch newspapers. We'll take a look at other papers before we settle in on what to talk on.
But before we move on, I think we should just touch on one or two things. I have some comments to make on a few of the news items here. Dangote deploys 1,000 trucks, Ekwe rallies marketers. Dangote over the weekend, or just towards the tail end of last week, said they're doing this to, relieve Nigerians and bring better service delivery to their doorsteps. And they're saying by this initiative alone, filling stations I should use petrol station, because when you use filling station, people think in terms of Valentine spirit filling. No, it's not that. Petrol stations, gas stations will be able to sell premium motor spirit at 840 naira a litre. But Ipman is saying, look, and Nupeng, that he's trying to monopolize, that he's just doing this to catch Nigerians, that once he's established his customer base, he will reveal his true self. So we're in between the devil and the deep blue sea. We've seen how Nupeng has operated in the last 60 years, but we haven't seen the full scale of Dangote. So Nigerians, for now, we're enjoying the good news. We just want to pay little. We don't want to bring out more money from our pockets. So it's an interesting debate, and wait to see what happens. And then another side, I saw a video this weekend of the trucks moving towards the Dangote refinery and the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. They took over one side of traffic, and people that live around that area were apprehensive. They're making comments like, I hope this will not turn to another Apapa, that I hope we will not suffer gridlock at the expense of so-called development, and that they should put the infrastructure first before all of these things happen. So we're looking at the state authorities and the federal government to do something about alternative routes or develop the infrastructure, make the roads wide enough so that if we see all those tankers flying the way, it wouldn't disturb the flow of vehicular traffic. And somebody put a comment there, I laugh in real estate companies selling land. I laugh in 5 minutes away from Dangote refinery. They always like to do those sorts of things as part of their marketing gimmick. So you deal with the traffic when it comes to.
That's something I never want to think about or deal with, traffic. Anyway, go on YouTube and drop a comment in our chat box, and just let us know your thoughts about whatever it is that we're discussing. We want to take your analysis, and we'll open the phone lines as well for you to call in and share your thoughts. I'll just take a few comments from YouTube, and then I'll go to the next paper. Now, this is regarding our former interview. John Blaze says, this woman don't vex. So Mokunye Chukwemeka says, God bless you, madam. And then he says, put your Philos Akatuba in his place. We also saw John Blaze saying she's correct. Patriarchy in Nigeria has its roots in the colonial era. And another question was being asked, where is the role of your father? And I agree, that's a valid question. If we're putting all the blame and saying that women are the ones who, the fabrics of the society, women are the ones who train the children, where is the role of their father? Isn't the father the head of the home anymore?
He's watching Premier League in Beer Parlor. Supposedly a Chelsea fan again, and that matter.
Not absolutely.
Chelsea fan.
Not absolutely.
Yeah, everything is not absolute. But when the men talk about women, they speak as if they are homogeneous.
Exactly.
That all women have the same line of thought.
I don't think all men.
I mean, you deal with people on an individual basis.
Yeah,
anyway, I want to take the final comment before I move to the next paper. Okwe Chukwemeka says, Joe, Olive and Benga. On a not so funny side, my landlord has increased my rent to 1.5 million naira from 650K.
Wow.
How won't do so? Make it make sense. Over 100% increase. Over 100% increase. 100% increase would have been 1.3 million naira. And this is what it is.
And I'm sure his salary hasn't doubled.
It hasn't doubled. We, of course, will be taking one more paper and then we would move
just on a rush.
All right, let's go through the Guardian newspaper. On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, parents struggle with steep tuition hike as schools wrestle rising OPEX. Punish politicians in early election campaign, Serap tells INEC. If 11 states may experience heavy rain this week, federal government warns. Experts divided over FUBRA's return as emergency rule expires Thursday. Akpabio urges Nigerians to tarry, says Tinubu's reforms will bear fruit. That man warns against divisive narratives in downstream sector. INEC others tasked on credible polls to avert protests. Chekarao's PDP chairmanship ADA's prospect on central ADC coalition. Aregbeshola condemns APC's economic policies. Don blames poor nutrition policy execution for 45% child morbidity. And that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
Well, that's all we're going to take on the papers, unfortunately. But fortunately, not because we just want to stop here, but because we have a guest joining us. Unfortunately, he's been stuck in traffic, but he joins us via Zoom. And we're going to have this conversation. We'll be talking to the Special Advisor, Media and Public Communication to the President Bola Tinubu. We're talking about Honorable Dr. Sunday Dare, who joins us this morning. Thank you so much for making time to find a way to join us, regardless of the very chaotic Lagos traffic. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good morning, News Central.
Good morning. So much to talk about. We hoped that we would be able to make enough time to speak on this, but we'll try and see how we can make time, make do with the little time that we have. First of all, welcome. It seems there's been a media tour and there's been conversations around what the president has been doing, the presidency, and also a lot of information that Nigerians need to quickly ingest. I'm going to start off first by speaking on a very critical one. Let's start off first by highlighting what we just saw over the weekend, looking at your reputable portfolio, which has got to do with the sporting sector. Permit me to start on that note. I don't know what your thoughts are. I haven't heard from you. It's quite unlikely that we're expecting a possible message from the special advisors to the president. But then again, we know you also leave that to the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. But what's your take on what we saw athletes put out on Sunday, or over the weekend rather, concerning the athletes' welfare and most importantly, their kits? Because this is a critical sector for you.
Thank you very much. I think that very often distractions like this come up during such international meets, and very often you don't get reactions because you need to stay focused. The athletes need to stay focused so that they're not distracted. Again, this is still ongoing. There are several sides to the developments you see there. The AFN has responded to whatever happened, but I think the focus of the country is on the athletes who have trained for so long and are going to compete in several heats. You know, we're hitting the semi-final heat before you get to the finals. They're making progress, Tobi Amusan, Sunday, and all of that. And I think that should be the focus. It's very easy to get distracted. I know other countries have made it a rule to say once you get started, no one should distract the team until the end of the competition. Unless the circumstances you're dealing with is extenuating. It has to be with a sickness, a broken leg, or something really serious. But beyond that, other countries have a code of conduct to say, wait until we finish what we are here to do. So sometimes these needless distractions ought to be kept very low. I'm not saying hide anything, but what purpose will it serve if it distracts the entire team from doing what they will do? So right now the focus is on supporting our athletes, making sure that they're less distracted and making sure they get the job done.
All right, let's now move away from sports and then come back to the state of the economy and talk about a statement that went viral and was widely criticized. The presidency did announce that we have met our revenue target. What would you say to critics who have said that this revenue target has been achieved because of the tax bracket that's been widening, that it has been in a way detrimental to citizens as opposed to beneficial?
Well, I think President Bola Tinubu made a statement of fact. And he preceded that statement, and I was there that night. He says, I've spent a few hours and days going through the data and the rest. That means being briefed by the chairman of FIRS, being briefed by the finance minister, and based on the briefing, we have met our revenue target. This country had a revenue target. And when we met that revenue target, the president made a statement of fact to announce that we met our revenue target. I don't know why that is eliciting different reactions. Is it not credible? Should we not give the president kudos for making sure that this country has met its revenue target? One of the cardinals of every government is raising enough revenue for growth and developmental projects. Two sources of revenue are there for countries: tax revenue and also revenue from resources, oil and gas, diamond, whatever it is. Now, the first one, which is tax revenue, we have met that. Recall when it took over, what was the revenue then? It was barely 9 million. We're now necking at almost 21 trillion. That means every country must generate enough revenue through taxes and other means to be able to continue to meet the needs and demands of various sectors: health sector, infrastructure, transportation, education. And for a country of 230 million, raising the revenue, meeting the tax revenue is big deal. And this president is on course. We also have the tax reform bills already coming on into enforcement in January. There is a focus to make sure that the fiscal space is widened. That's the only way development can come about. President Bola Tinubu has widened the fiscal space of this country using the tools other countries use: taxes and also increase from our resources. The barrels of oil produced has gone up from 900,000 to 1.3. Now we're at 1.6. That is huge. This government should get some credit for staying the course.
Now, Mr. Sondidare, as we speak this morning, Mr. President is currently outside the shores of the country on a working holiday. The President has taken at least 15 international trips this year alone, 2025. How do you respond to concerns about the cost of these trips? Is assume the position of chief diplomat, while many Nigerian embassies are reportedly underfunded, and we haven't appointed ambassadors 2 years into his administration. How is the government ensuring that these trips translate into tangible results for Nigeria, not just follow-ups? And what is the government doing about the diplomatic situation where we have countries without ambassadors and the state of our embassies and representation abroad?
Yeah, that's quite a loaded question, but fine. But let me take a stab at each of them. Let me start from ambassador appointments. The president has been forward about it 3 weeks ago at the dinner in the villa. He said, we're reworking the postings again because of so much pressure, so much considerations, because of the need to balance. And I think that's important. So the president has been quite upfront. For him to have spoken about that, it shows that it's not in the cooler, that process is ongoing, and we should allow that process to take place. Having said that, I think the number one diplomat for any country is the president of that country. And you can draw parallels from President Trump of the United States of America, from the Indian president. Every president is the number one diplomat. And we've seen other presidents move around. These trips by President Bola Tinubu are clearly justified. And prior to every trip, a clear statement is released. stating the agenda, stating the duration, stating the importance of that. So there's a preview of that trip. There's a coverage of that trip proper. And then there's a post coverage that shows what are the benefits and how do we follow through. And the president makes the biggest pitch. The minister can speak, but when the president speaks to a particular issue, then you know that it's going to get the attention of other countries. And when you look at it, these places the president has been to, you have presidents of other countries being there. So beyond the solo bilaterals, you have meetings he has gone to. Is it the G20? Is it BRICS? That you meet other presidents who did not sit at home. They also came. In the nature of diplomacy and global politics, you must get on that plane. You must hit the ground. You must get to those places, those capitals, those global meetings to be able to make a pitch with your team. That has been the conduct of government over time. And when you do benchmarking, I see we reel out the number of times he has traveled. We just need to put a thumb down and check the number of times other people have traveled. In any case, we are a developing country. This administration has priorities. We're looking towards the global south. AGOA has ended already. We're trying to beef up after to make sure that, within the African continent, the ECOWAS sub-region, we increase trade and investment. So there's a clear agenda. And this president is not a citizen, because he knows that beyond the work at home, you also need to do some negotiations directly to get the job done. And let me talk about Brazil. Let's just talk about the latest trip that he made. Imagine Brazil. He went 3 times. But the third time he went, we saw massive benefits coming into our country. The first one was the BASA arrangement, the direct flight, cutting a 20-hour trip to 7.5 hours. That's key. Trade and investment, mechanized agriculture, creating more than 100,000 jobs and 5 million indirect jobs. So there are benefits. There are benefits from each of these trips that are trackable. And I think that these trips are important. These trips are timely.
All right. I mean, you've talked about the trip. I would have loved to stay on that, but because of time, because there are also reactions that despite these frequent trips, Nigerians are not seeing the benefits, because we still have a lot of youths who are jobless and roaming around the streets. And therefore, the cost of...
This takes time. In the nature, we signed a lot of MOUs. When you have agreements and MOUs, there is a process. It's not automatic. It's not. Whether it's, in the case of Nigeria, the rules of engagement cannot change. When you sign an MOU, what follows thereafter is that both countries set up a bi-national commission from both sides, from different sectors, to sit down and work out the nitty-gritty. And they will granularize whatever the MOU is. They will set a timeline. It might be visits, it might be... And then if it also involves funding, it's also a process. But let me also point out, for instance, with the one with Brazil, we've seen 20,000 tractors coming. 2,000 tractors coming. We've seen 25,000 farm implements coming. We've seen loads of fertilizer coming. Just recently, fertilizers were distributed for free to our farmers. So when it comes to these trips, there's a gestation period. It's not automatic. It takes a few months. If it's quick, it takes a year or two. But the Binational Commission or the Special Committee works from both sides to make sure that they itemize and prioritize, and that will come forward. When you talk about our youth, I think beyond the MOUs, this administration is doing much more for our youth. Just the youth credit was launched recently. The Youth Investment Fund will start rolling out funds for our young people. The 3 MTT done by the Communications Ministry, the uptake is going up. So just 2 weeks ago, the NDE rolled out the second phase of his entrepreneurship and skills training program that will benefit 46,000. The initial one benefited 41,000. So recently too, the First Lady empowered 5,000 young women. So you look at it from multiple angles. The issue of youth unemployment is being addressed, and it goes beyond just empowerment. It goes beyond investing in their skills. It also encompasses providing them with funding so that they can become young entrepreneurs. And that's the future of our youth. Skills, upskilling, and also entrepreneurship. And this government is on the right track in that direction.
All right, Honorable Dari, I just want to ask this very key question. Just when the president resumed office, he did make the strong statement, which of course many would hold on for as long as possible in his administration that subsidy is gone, okay? But there seems to be very little information from the presidency and also from your office or the office of the special advisors on how much has been saved from the subsidy that has been removed and what it's being used for in terms of how much is being shared. Now, I know that we've brought in a lot of persons who have joined us from the APC, and we usually hear the word which I've coined to be GIN, which is GIN. You always hear that subsidy goes for G. G, which stands for more governors have more money. I, which stands for infrastructure. N, which definitely stands for NEL fund. So can you share with us how much, why is it that the presidency is holding back from telling Nigerians how much has been saved from subsidy and where these monies are being allocated apart from GIN?
So when it comes to finance and accountancy, I'm not a financial expert, but you know, it's the computation of what is saved in subsidy is on a continuous basis, you know, on a yearly basis. What we know is that what we were spending before on subsidy was $7.5 billion per annum. So you can do that. That's $7.5 million in the last 2 years. We've been able to save that. So it's going to be on a continuous basis because we know what we've been losing. That money is now captured for other purposes. And when you say, where has the subsidy money gone? Well, it's simple. And the government has explained this severally. They have said, we have used this money, we're using this money for legacy projects. And I can list a number of them. The Lagos-Calabar, which traverses more than 7 or 8 states. The Sokoto-Badagry, that traverses 13 states to create more economic zones. The Kano-Maradi Rail, 128-kilometer stretch. That's just a bit of the infrastructure. The 260 roads that we see being done across the country, across all geopolitical zones, is partly funded from the budget and the money that has been saved. So these monies are well spent. Look at the health industry, for instance. The National Insurance Scheme is backed compulsorily for civil servants. Don't forget that the United States has withdrawn funding to most of its health support funding have gone out. Yet the president has gone ahead to mandate not only the national health insurance for our civil servants, but just last week, 29 billion was sent out for the national social health insurance for every state, including the FCT. So the monies are being properly spent. Beyond that, we see this country paying down its debt. The president in the last 2 years plus has been able to pay down 16 different international loans, inherit as far back as the Obasanjo period. We've seen the IMF loan paid down. We've also seen this president spend almost 360 billion for agri. We've seen budget for defense also go up. But in all of this, we also see a government working very hard to increase its internal revenue. So you can point to where these monies are, and I've stated quite a number of them. And that's important to note. Are all these problems going to go away at once because we have subsidy money saved? No. In a country of 20 million, you look at what our budget is. Our budget is a minuscule. It's about 23% of what we need for a country of 230 million. And the experts have said that repeatedly. So in the presence of competing needs, in the present process, this government is trying to touch every critical sector, from road transportation, rail transportation, health, youth development, and so many critical sectors are in focus and in the top drawer of President Bola Tinubu.
Okay, I mean, thank you very much for explaining this and saying to us that this a number of the reforms we're expecting to see results from might take time. But if we look at this year, the government has cut electricity subsidies by 35%, and there's a planned fuel surcharge of 5% for some time in the coming year. I think my question would be, what is the long-term plan to protect citizens from the impact of these reforms?
Okay, so let me take care of the 5% surcharge. That has been explained severally. The 5% surcharge is not new. It was there since 2007. and under the FEMA Act, they're the ones that fix the road and the rest. And it's been clear that it will not be activated even next year until the Minister of Finance sees it right and can justify it in a letter to Mr. President. So any worry about that? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can you?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Nigerians need not worry about that 5% tax. It has been explained. It was inherited. It's in the books. And this government will not introduce it until such a time that the finance minister thinks that should happen. This president will not bring any pain, any tax burden to bear on Nigerians unless it's absolutely necessary and unless it's absolutely justified. Recall that this same president 2 weeks ago removed the 5% telecom tax. Why are people not talking about that? That's also important. The 5% telecom tax. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
The president also removed the 5% telecom tax. That is also significant. Under the new tax regime that starts January 1st, 2026, 51 different taxes were consolidated into 11. Payee tax is no longer there. Certain foodstuff for the common people does not also carry any tax. I think that you know there's a presence of mind. There's empathy also on the part of President in designing these policies to make sure that the harsh effects on our citizenry is limited.
Now, Honorable Sonidari, let's talk about youth unemployment and youth restlessness. A huge percentage of Nigeria's population is under 40, and we should be using this demographic to our advantage. And the official statistics is that 2024, MBS puts youth unemployment between 15 and 24%. And a lot of people will tell you that that's very conservative. How does the presidency reconcile these figures, and what concrete steps is this Bola Tinubu administration taking to turn this statistical gains into real jobs for Nigerian youths, and also deal with youth restiveness? If you just move around the country, you see a lot of young Nigerians underemployed or unemployed.
So
and,
let me list some of the concrete steps. I'm sure you recall the era of bursary. Bursary kept most of us in school. Without bursary, some of us will have no education today. That is some kind of scholarship and support money. NEL Fund is a running success right now, signed into law and funded by Mr. President. As we speak, 86 billion naira has been expended to support the education of our young people. I think that's massive. It's something that has never been experienced in a long time. That addresses not just the education, but also takes most of them who are on the streets back into school. They also get a stipend of 20,000. I think over 600,000 of our young people have been taken care of. That's one. Two, the youth credits just introduced about 3 months ago provides some kind of credit for our young people. That's important. The National Youth Investment Fund that gives up between 250,000 to 10 or 50 million to our young entrepreneurs is already on board. There was increase from 65 billion to 110 billion naira by President Bola Tinubu. That is significant. The 3MTT done by the Communications Ministry is also targeted at our young people. Yeah, the young people must move forward to apply themselves to these opportunities. That's when it can make the impact that is necessary and that's desirable. Also in agriculture, we also have the Young Farmers Scheme for our young people. So when it comes to youth unemployment, the approaches are multifaceted. You get some of them into schools. You get some of them upskilled. I talk about the NDE employing 46,000 under the entrepreneurship employment scheme. That is massive. We keep doing all these policies and projects.
Okay. Are you there?
Don't worry.
Okay. I mean, hopefully we did get that. So you said there are a lot of things that are being put in place. Honorable Sonidari, are you there with us?
We seem to have lost connection with him.
Hopefully he joins us. I think one of the key questions that I would also like to touch on, there's so many of them to touch on. Hopefully we do have enough time, and we are looking to have him join us back.
And also, I wanted to follow up on that question, because loans are loans, and you need to pay back loans. And to pay back loans, you need to be gainfully employed to pay back loans. So What about those that are not in school, those that are not within the agricultural sector, the army of unemployed youths just roaming the streets, being area boys and touts and just with no lease in life? What is the plan to get them employed? He mentioned the National Directorate of Employment, NDE, about 43,000 jobs. That's a tiny drop in the ocean of millions of unemployed youth. So is the government, does the government also see unemployment as a security threat to the well-being of Nigerians? Because these, like they say, the idle mind is a devil's workshop. They're easy targets for recruitment for terrorist groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP and what have you, because they're not doing anything much, and it's easy to recruit people that are not gainfully employed. So is the government seeing it as a clear and present danger and a national security threat? These are some of that was my follow-up to my question on youth unemployment and restiveness.
Very interesting follow-up. I think there are the other angles to equally look at. There's also the case of corruption. I mean, the Honorable Dr. Sunday Dare himself is a seasoned journalist who journalists have looked up to over the years in terms of his reportage and so on and so forth. But then again, there's also the serious case of some of the major challenges that's been happening right now, especially in the issue of journalists being, gagged, the media being gagged, some journalists going as far as carrying out investigative reports and putting it out there. And he's one of the seasoned journalists in time past up until today who have cut their teeth on carrying out very interesting investigative reports. Take, for instance, in 2011, where he got the invitation to be a fellow at the University of Oxford. He also chaired one of the very interesting research, which had to do with a case study. The theme was using new media tools and citizen journalism to investigate corruption in Nigeria.
We're using it. Fisayo Shirombo is using it.
So that's what I'm coming to. So you have a Fisayo who has done the job already. I mean, he's very interested because, like I said, he was a fellow. He spent his time at Oxford University, invited. He spent his time looking at how new media can support the case of cutting off corruption. And if he did that in 2011 and now he's in power, I was expecting that by now we'd see how the likes of Fisayo Shirombo, not forgetting to other investigative journalists, for instance, one keeps screaming, P1 real estate, of course.
And we have to get out of the studio, but I'm hoping that we can have updates and come back tomorrow to find out that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has sought the order of the courts to transfer him from the DSS custody to the National Hospital because his doctors have said that they've noticed a decline in his health. And he's asking that a right to life would also include a right to health being treated. And the court will hear that today and we'll bring updates tomorrow. But this is all that we have for you on the show today. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue the conversations virtually. You can tweet at us individually. And we're streaming live at News Central TV. Jasiri is up next. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Joe Hansen.
And I'm Benga Borough.
Au revoir.